The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
BronxNet. Your voice, your views, your vision.
End of the show is actually here in studio sharing a little bit about her new book, Becoming a Woman of Destiny, Turning Life's Trials into Triumphs. And stick around because you don't want to miss this exciting episode of Perspectives with yours truly, Darren Jaime.
Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective with shines of light. Cause it might make a difference in someone else's life. What's your perspective?
Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective.
What's your perspective?
And hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Perspectives. I'm yours truly, Darren Jaime. Remember, you can catch Perspectives every Tuesday night live here from 8:30 to 9 p.m. on BronxNet's Channel 67. Now, if you want more information about the show, you can go to our newly designed website. That's at www.bronxnet.org. All you got to do is hit /Perspectives, and you can find out about Perspectives. Also, if you want to find out some of the past episodes of Perspectives, you've got that YouTube channel. All you've got to do is go to BronxNet Perspectives, and you'll be able to find out all about some of our past guests and some of the highlights of the show. But our guest tonight, as we said in our introduction, is an old friend here to Perspective. She's been here before, but I want to give you her formal introduction. She's led a distinguished career in both public and private service. She has actually served as a presidential advisor, a White House fellow on Domestic Policy Council, and directly with the cabinet secretary. She participated in the historic presidential Barack Obama's presidential inauguration at the National Cathedral. She's also a frequent guest on CNN, Good Morning America, CNN's Faith Forum, and tonight she joins us here on Perspective. She's discussing her new book, and if you want to know about it, it's Becoming a Woman of Destiny, and we're glad to have Reverend Dr. Susan Johnson Cook in studio here with us, and good to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be back. Thank you.
Glad to have you. As we've been sharing a little bit about your book, we're talking about your book, but first off, let's talk about the matter at hand, because we know that something very major happened for you. You are nominated by the president, nominee for Ambassador at Large for International Religious Freedom, and that came at the hand of President Barack Obama. First of all, your reaction, because we know that you worked previously with the Clinton administration, now the opportunity to work with the Obama administration.
Well, my reaction is that I'm honored to be nominated. To work with a sitting president would be quite an honor. I am awaiting Senate confirmation, so if confirmed, that I can come back and tell you what it's like to work with him. But it's certainly a joy coming from the Bronx and Harlem. To be a New Yorker down in Washington, it's always a great joy and a privilege. So I thank God for the privilege.
And it's been a long journey for you. You talked about the Bronx, and you went from the Bronx to Washington, D.C. How has life changed for you, being that pastor in the Bronx and then working with a person like a President Clinton?
Well, Bronx and Harlem are always home. I'm a Bronxite. I've spent 50 of my years of life here, and so it's always home. I always make sure that there's some trip that I can come on that brings me back to the Bronx. But I've also loved Washington, D.C. My first career was a TV producer, and it started in Washington, D.C. So some of my closest friends are still there. Many of them are really important journalists now. Some are in politics, and so it's wonderful. My late brother was the first black assemblyman for the Bronx, and so a lot of the people who are in the United States Senate now, like Chuck Schumer, were people who rode back and forth to Albany with him and sat in the living room and ate fried chicken with my mother. So, it's been very great to see the evolution, how, relationships are really important, and you never know how important a relationship is. So it is important not to burn bridges, but to always try to keep those relationships alive.
And you've got a lot of relationships, and, we're going to get a chance to have an opportunity to talk a little bit about your book in just a few seconds, but I want to talk about a very special relationship that you had because, we were in America became very privilege to the fact of your relationship with Yolanda King, you know, your sister, who and many people say just passed away too soon, but she was a sister to you.
Yes.
Talk about your relationship with Yolanda King and the King family, and what it's been for you.
Well, you know, I still pastor the Wall Street congregation. I have a lunchtime congregation every Wednesday at noon. And she had just been at the Wall Street service. She brought one of the Shabazz daughters. So it was this moment in history where the Wall Street congregation got to see Martin Luther King's daughter, got to see Malcolm X's daughter, and it was a wonderful event. And then the next week was my 50th birthday. And President Clinton came to Wall Street, Yolanda came, and then she came to my birthday party that night. We were, you know, sitting around eating Tostitos, stuffing our face, talking about how we're going to lose all this weight. And then, you know, 3 weeks later, she was gone. She was the godmother for my youngest son, and really was a true godmother. I mean, as busy as she was, she never forgot a birthday. She never forgot an anniversary or Christmas gift or anything like that, and was really in my life. But the way God works is the last year she was here, we had never been on the stage together. Both of us were speakers, both of us were actors. But that last year, we had about 4 events that we were on the same stage. We had about 4 times we were in the same hotel. And so we got to spend some tremendous time together. And the March before she passed May 15th, she said, you know, let's go. I'm going to treat you to this juice diet. And so we went down to Hilton Head. It was freezing. And so we ended up staying inside this cabana for a whole week. We couldn't really go outside and enjoy the grounds. And she says, you know, I don't know when we've been together like this in 25 years. And sun up to sundown, talking, laughing about our mothers, about our family. And so it was like God gave us some precious time that last time that she was going to be on this earth. And so she will always have a special place in my heart. Mrs. King, you know, was my second mom. And so, you know, just really being able to be part of the family and see them as a sister, as a mother, was just a wonderful experience. I didn't get to experience the civil rights movement as, you know, I was a kid when he did the March on Washington.
Right.
So Martin Luther King, although my parents let me go see him when he was at Hunter College, I didn't get to walk and talk with Martin, as everybody talks about. I marched across the bridge. Well, I was 5. But to, you know, to have his daughter as my friend was just wonderful. And so because of that, I was embraced by the family. And so she will always be in my heart forever.
Wonderful. Share with us a little bit about your experience, because you've been able to take this experience, both, you know, professional, secular, you know, you got it all wrapped up, and now you got this book out, Becoming a Woman of Destiny. And I want to share a little bit about this book, because it's a book, and I know that Deborah's the main character.
Yes.
So share with us a little bit about why you chose Deborah to be the main character, and what a woman of destiny is, becoming a woman of destiny is all about.
Okay, I think, you know, what you said initially was, you know, New York is a secular city. So I grew up being sacred and secular. It was really no separation of church and state. So my family I was born into a Christian family, but a very social family that had parties every Sunday. So there'd be church in the morning, and there'd be something going on at my mother's house every single Sunday. From, you know, people just dropping in from the building to her church to Bid Whist, you know, the famous, and her fried chicken. So, you know, being able to balance the two has always been wonderful for me. I never felt like there was a separation or that I was different, that you had to learn how to exercise your faith in the midst of a culture. So that was very important to me. Becoming a woman of destiny is for women who are in mainstream life, who are in transition, who are that second half of life, more days behind us than in front of us. But what happens when you hit that 50-year-old mark, you know, and what begins to happen? For me, you know, I lost my best friend when I was 50. What happens? Have you peaked out in a career? Are you ready to do something new? And so it's based on the biblical Deborah, the Judeo-Christian Deborah. So it's open, it's mainstream, it's not just for African-American women, it's for women in general who really want to look at what my life is going to look like. And it's about you taking charge of your decisions, turning your trials into triumphs. That every single thing that happened in your life, the things that you called the rough stuff, as well as the good stuff, was preparing you for the moment that you're at.
Now, let me ask this question, because when you talk about trials, a lot of us go through them daily. The key is those people who are able to succeed sometimes are are the ones who are able to overcome their trials. Share with us a little bit about what insights you give in turning these trials into triumphs.
Well, first of all, each chapter has a work, exercise, action step that you can take at the end of the chapter. It's built on 4 pillars of this community, this action, this spirituality, and this intellect. So that is not to deny any of who you are. We're mind, body, and spirit. In fact, it is to embrace and enhance that. So some of the steps are very simple things about what I call destiny decisions. When you make a decision that I'm going to do me, that I've done the children, I've done the laundry, I've done the spouse, I've done school, I've done work, but now I'm going to do me. And I think that's an important decision that every woman needs to arrive at without guilt, unashamedly and unapologetically. So I'm going to take time for me. And simple steps like taking time to restore your soul. Deborah was a main protagonist of the story, was under the palm tree of Deborah. She learned time management and time discipline. So it said that she ruled between 2 holy cities, but instead of running over to Ramah and then coming back and then over to Bethel, it said she sat under her palm tree and let the people come to her. So it was a wise decision because she was able to think, she was able to pray, she was able to have a devotional life. And so it's time managing your time so that it works for you. It may not work for anybody else. Somebody from the outside may say, I wouldn't do it that way. Well, you're not me.
Right.
And so really being able to say, this is my life and create the life that will work for you, that you can sleep at night. For me, I need 8 hours sleep. Making a decision, I'm going to bed. Everybody want to stay up? That's fine. Lock the doors, turn the lights out, but I'm going to bed at 9:30.
How are you with time management?
I'm very good at time management.
Really?
I have 2 teenage sons,
Okay.
and so I've had to really do that as a pastor, as a mother, as a wife, as a speaker, as an author. I had to manage my time well because I have to have time to write. I have to have time to edit. I have to have time for me when there are no children, nobody around, and so I really do that. I love the beach, and for me, so being by the waters where he leads me beside the still waters and really restores my soul. I had the entire summer this summer before I go to Washington, really just spending time by the water. That's what makes me tick, and so I'm ticking.
All right. Well, we got to take a quick break because the clock is ticked out on this particular segment. Got to come back. But when we come back, we're going to ask about the Destiny Circle. What exactly is the Destiny Circle? Well, Reverend Dr. Susan Johnson Cook will answer that question. It's all about her new book, Becoming a Woman of Destiny. We'll talk to her when we return right here on Perspectives.
So the king ordered his men into battle, and even though he was no longer acting in their best interest, they followed obediently. But what if they didn't? What if they just refused? What if selfish leaders got no support? What if people had the courage to stand up when something wasn't right? What if the government didn't just serve a lucky few? What if it was designed and run for all the people, no matter what race, color, or creed? What if we didn't put up with anything less? What if?
And there you see Dr. Sue J's book, Becoming a Woman of Destiny, Turning Life's Trials into triumphs. And if you want to find out where you can exactly get the book, well, you got Borders, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and Human if you're down in the Harlem area. So make sure that you can check it out over there. Borders, Amazon, Human, and Barnes and Nobles. And I guarantee you, you'll be blessed by becoming a woman of destiny. Reverend Dr. Susan Johnson Cook, our guest in studio with us. Glad to have you here on Perspectives this Tuesday evening. And we were sharing a little bit about the book, and we were sharing a little bit about this Destiny Circle before the break. What is the Destiny Circle?
It's a wonderful support system where you choose the people you want to be around. You can say at this point in life, at this stage and age, no more drama. I'm not going to be around folk who one day love me, the next day I don't know who they are. So Destiny Circles, where you find women and you select women that are going to be your support system, your cheering squad, creating safe space for women, where you share your celebrations, where you share things that you need prayer for. For me, I have one that's been like 15 years old, where many of us who are on the front line public figures come together every other month, and we just make sure each other's not becoming unglued. Each of us has lost a mother in the process, so someone in that circle has gone through it, and so they help you through it. Someone is raising children, someone is getting ready to send kids off to school. So it's a support system where you choose the people you want to be around, and you determine how often you want to meet, but a Destiny Circle helps you go to your next season. And that's what women don't talk about a lot, but we have seasons of life, and it's all right to be in a new season of your life, that you're closing this chapter and you're opening a new one. 2010, for example, for me was my 30th year of ministry. I had 2 huge pastorates, one that I started, one that I built up. My son was 18. He graduated from high school, was entering college, 25 years of doing lunchtime ministries downtown, and 20 years as the only female chaplain for the New York City Police Department this week. So it was a milestone year. It's the beginning of a new decade, but there were certain decades that 3 decades of pastoring was a long time. I loved what I did. I gave it my all, but it was also a time I felt that transition was happening, and not knowing that this, nomination would happen, but I knew that God was doing something new with my life. And to be fair to people, you have to know when it's time to leave. You also need to know when it's time to open a new chapter, and you can't open a new one until you close it properly. So a Destiny Circles helps you kind of vent, helps you talk through some ideas you might be wrestling with or just trying to build upon, and also something happens in that circle every time we're together. Usually about a dozen women show up. But in the sharing of the stories of women, somebody gets the answer they were seeking, whether it was spoken or unspoken. Someone gets the answer they need. Sometimes you just need a chance to cry in a place where the camera's not on, and you need to let it all hang out. So it's that kind of thing. We have one now that we meet in the winter, and we have a place that we meet at the beach in the summer, and we have determined that we want to be together, and we're enjoying that. Now we see a new generation of women coming up, and so they can either create their own Destiny Circles or be embraced by ours. But it's an intergenerational circle of people who just love one another and cheer each other on.
But this is something that really could be applied to guys too. I mean, when you talk about men,
Oh,
you really
without
talk
question.
about, we need a circle too. And I think with many of the core values that you're talking about are values that men really need to also address as well.
Very much. And men usually unite around sports or something like that. And that's fine. I went to Paul Youngie Cho's church when I first started pastoring in Seoul, Korea. He's got the largest Christian church in the world. And he calls them home cells. But what he did was group homogeneous people together. So if you were a lawyer and you can break at lunchtime, they did Bible study together. If you were a basketball player and you play basketball, they did Bible study. And what this is saying you try to find a group of people that are like you, like-minded, who want to go someplace that you're trying to go. And so you have models of people who've already been there. You have people that you can be mentoring as they're coming up. In our particular circle, we have one woman who's in her 80s. We have another woman who's her 60s. And then you have me in my 50s. And we are the 3 hosts for this group. So it's very intergenerational. And now we see this group of 30 and 40-year-old women who say, we want to sit at your feet. And it's all wonderful. So men need it. Women need it. I think a Destiny Circle is non-gender discriminatory.
There you go.
Okay?
Everybody can have a Destiny Circle.
Very much so.
Talk to us about being that woman, and you talked about being the only New York City police chaplain, and that's
Female.
a female police chaplain,
Yeah,
I should
there
say.
are.
And then also, we're very familiar with the fact that you're the head of the Hampton Ministers. And for those people who don't know the Hampton Ministers, we always say it's like the Super Bowl of black preachers. You want to know the who's who of black preachers, basically. And it's predominantly male dominated.
Yes.
And you were able to become the president. So at the same time, you're able to crack the ceiling, police chaplain, crack the ceiling in terms of Hampton Ministers. What were some of the things that you really had embedded in you to say, listen, I might be a female, I might be the very first one, but I'm going to be the one.
Well, I think number one, I think certain people are born to be trailblazers. You don't choose when you come into this life, but it seems by the patterns that God has created, that's one of the roles he feels that I can handle well. Number one, it's about relationships. People, when I first went to Hampton 28 years ago, who said you can't preach, you're not called to preach, who wouldn't even shake my hand. They almost dealt with women like the lepers in the Bible, were the very ones who said, we're voting you in as our president. You just look good and we'll take care of the backdoor politics. So I think it's a relationship. At that time it was over 23 years, our families had gotten to know each other. I was consistent. So I think you have to be consistent. I think you cannot compromise your values. I came from a home that says you are somebody. We expect you to leave here at Johnson and come back and act like a Johnson while you're out and come back and look like a Johnson. So my dad, there was accountability. They checked the eyes. We partied like everybody else in the Bronx, all around here, near Lehman and Clinton. But when you came back in, I want to see that you're standing, that your clothes are on the same way that when you left the house. Right. And there was a group of us. Our parents knew each other. Our families knew each other. So I think consistency, relationships, accountability. I think the other thing is discipline. That there's some things that are a no. There's some places that are not for me to go. There's some places not for you to go. And you have to say it's not for me at this time. Maybe later, but not at this particular time. And I think, just knowing the general right and wrong, when you walk into the room in college, whether that's the party you're supposed to be at or whether you need to take yourself down to the next floor. And so I think it's, having a great upbringing, 2 parents at home who were hard workers, who partnered together and who just said, family is very important. All of that helps create, so when you stand in places where you're standing alone many times, then you also understand I'm not really by myself because I've got a whole cheerleading section. I knew I could always go home and if in my broken places be mended. I knew there was always a meal on the table. I knew that there was always an embrace. And I think that that's what keeps you going. Doing a good job where you are. You may not like it, but that's what God's put in your hands to do for that season. So be the best at it. Do the best. So when you leave there, there's legacy and not people talking about, I wish they had not been here. So make your time count for something.
Where do you see yourself at in this season of your life? Where do you see yourself at?
In this season of my life, I'm waiting for a confirmation hearing and praying, and developing new relationships in Washington, renewing relationships from some of those who were in New York who are now in Washington, and always keeping my base. I was part of Jack and Jill, an African-American mothers group that we raised our children together, and they've been really supported. I have my Sag Harbor place where we spend in the summer, and I have a support community there. I have my own family, and so I see myself always making sure that family is a priority. I drove 5 hours to be at a football game on Saturday with my youngest son because it was important for him to look up and see his mom there. No matter how much time he had in the game, but his mom was there. So and I'm a soccer mom. I have a game too. I play basketball. I know you played. Really? Yeah, I was a center.
You was a center?
I was better than
Did
West.
You have game?
I had game. I still have game.
You still got game?
I got a 3-pointer. That Johnson's my maiden name.
All right.
I got Magic Johnson.
Yeah, okay.
Johnson Johnson Magic. Okay,
All right.
All
I got you.
It's in the DNA.
It's in the DNA?
Yeah.
All right. We have to take the cameras out and see whether or not this is real. All right.
I challenge you the next time we come, okay? Let's have a hoop.
We can go out. That's right. We got a gym. We can take the cameras out. We'll do that.
Let's do it. Let's work it, okay?
I'm not scared.
You'll be a man of destiny.
I'll be a man of destiny. I will. Listen, let me ask you more about Washington, because a lot of people have this whole thing about separation of church and state. Preachers, pastors, religious leaders should not be involved in Washington, D.C., or the political movement or government. And what do you say to the critics who say, listen, you guys have a place, but when it comes to dealing with issues of state, government, stuff like that, go back to the church?
Well, faith and politics and aging are the subjects they say no one wants to talk about, but they're happening all the time. Where is it more political than in the church world? Where did I learn politics better than in the church world? I think, politics is about, understanding systems and understanding what you have to do to help get things done for your people. It happens in the church world. It happens in Washington. It happens in the Bronx. It happens here at Lehman College. It happens at BronxNet. So I think you have to understand and be savvy, politically savvy enough. You have to have relationships in the political world on both sides of the spectrum. And now there's a new party but you have to understand what's going on around you and not actually live in a vacuum and act like it's not happening. So you have to understand the Sarah Palins, who has a movement going. You have to understand, the Barack Obamas. You have to understand the persons who opposed him, the McCains. You have to understand those worlds. I had a brother who was an elected assemblyman. He went against the machine. He was on the independent line, the liberal line, and won 4 special elections at 26 years old in the Bronx, where it was changing from Jewish to African American on the Grand Concourse. We had to have some understanding of the political system, and being with those persons around in my living room, running a campaign, going door to door, were the same techniques I used in building up my church. Went door to door, did subway stops, knocked on people's door, will you come to my church? So I think that the tools are very much the same, and so we don't separate life. What we learn how to do is balance life. We're mind, body, spirit. You have to have intellect, you have to have faith, you have to have politics, if you choose to. And so learning how to make those work for you, because we're in a system. Voting is a political process. Understanding that a whole lot of people died for us to have that right. So then we need to exercise that right and choose the leaders that we feel will best represent our communities. Healthy communities build healthy states. Healthy states build a healthy nation. A healthy nation builds a healthy globe. And we have to begin to have dialogue. I think President Obama's speech when he went to talked in Cairo, and he talked about, so many people were afraid of the Muslim community after 9/11. I was on the front lines. But he said what we have to do is listen to and learn from people who are different than ourselves. It may not be the same model or paradigm we're used to, but we have to sit at the table together, and that's the only way we're going to have world peace. So ultimately, what do I see for myself? A world of peace, of being a peacemaker. As the scriptures say, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall see God. And so that's what I hope will happen, that I can be one instrument used to help this president, this nation, to bring about peace in this world and have a relationship where people will listen to me and I will learn how to listen to them.
Talk to us about what have you taken away from the experiences? We talked about the major experiences you've had working with presidents and talk about just being in the hood, and having the experience of pastoring people. But what experiences would you like to pass on to people from your life that you could say, listen, how to turn your trials into the triumphs?
Well, I think in every position that I was in, whether that was pastor or mother, that I always try to take people as far as they want to go. And so I try to expose them to whatever. When I worked in the Clinton White House, I had busloads of church folk down there. They were like, you're only supposed to have 6. I said, okay, I know. But to expose people to a world that they may not ever get a chance to. So the lessons in terms of becoming a woman of destiny is to take the gifts that you have, to hone them, to build up your skills, hone them well, but also to be able to share those. That's what community is all about, to be able to give back to someone. My mother was this wonderful woman. She passed at 84 years old, but we used to have house cleaners, before it was popular, and we used to have this turnover of house cleaners, and I was like, why can't we get somebody, they're cleaning the house well. And I began to read, particularly as she passed, all these thank you letters from these women that she saw potential in. And so if they were welfare women at that time that were chosen to clean people's houses. And so if she thought that they wanted to be a nurse, she said, I'm sending you to nursing school. And she would pay their way until they got on their feet. I think that I saw a model of investing in people's lives, and that's what I hope to do. See some potential, bring it out of them, and take them to a world that they may never get a chance to, because I've had a chance to go through that door.
All right. Well, Reverend Dr. Susan Johnson-Cook, thank you for coming and sharing with us here on
my
Perspectives
pleasure.
One More Time. All righty.
Thank you.
And we're going to hold her to this whole basketball thing. We're going to see whether or not she got game or not. We're going to really find out. But the book is Becoming a Woman of Destiny, Turning Life's Trials into Triumphs. And as we said, you can catch it Barnes & Noble's, Borders, Human Bookstore, and I'm missing one other place. Where am I doing?
Amazon.com.
Amazon.com.
And this is behind the back. And that's a 3-pointer.
That's behind the back 3-pointer?
Uh-huh.
Okay, we're going to have to check it out. Darren Hyvee here on Perspectives. Thanks for watching. Remember, catch us every Tuesday night live, 8:30 to 9, right here on Bronx S Channel 67. If you want to find out more information about us or the station in itself, don't forget to go to www.bronxnet.org and /perspectives. You'll see all about it. For all of us here on the Set of Perspectives, our producer, Curlew Burton, and the rest of the staff, thanks for watching. And until the next time we meet, stay safe and share your perspective with somebody else, because it just might make a difference in their life. All right.
What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
What's on your mind? What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
What's on your mind? What's on your mind?
Let 'em know. relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move.
My police department
You know,
stuff every week. I'm
see?
like, come on.
You
got it though.
I have it. Was it okay?
Good to go. Yes.
All right, good to go. All right.
Thank you, sir.
No problem, sir.
What's your name? I need to know who's putting clips and stuff on me. What's your name?
Chris.
Chris, okay.
Know who to sue.
It'll probably be another year before I put any clip on anybody else. I don't do
Wait,
this
this
too
one
often.
went kind of far down. I got to stand it out.
Busted
Can't
the-
take this one out. Oh my God, Chris. It went, wait a second. Went down through my pants.
Okay.
They want to do a promo.
That works.
You need me to speak on the mic?